occupations, changes and their consequences. Identify the key features of working population. Analyze various problems of unemployment, its trend and impact. Describe the influence of an occupation on personal life. Explain various aspects of professionalism and the process of professionalization. Analyze various approaches to better working lives. Dear students, most of the time one will hear elders asking young ones, what do you want to become in your life? Which career path do you want to choose? What do you want to do in your future? It is the basic and most expected question for young people. We most often hear the young ones replying, I want to become a doctor, an engineer, a pilot, a teacher, a chef. This is nothing but we all are referring to the occupation that we wanted to join during professional life. During education and during the college days, the thought of career and profession always fascinates us. It is important for all of us to plan for career and choose a proper occupation for the future endeavor. Before choosing the career path, it is important for all of us to understand various aspects of occupation, characteristics of the working population and current trends, various facets of unemployment, influence of occupational role in our day-to-day life and professionalism. We will discuss all these points related to occupation in this topic. The world of occupation is ever changing. Thus, in this topic, we will also learn how the occupation, occupational environment, labor force and industrial relation have evolved during the course of time. The labor force. We often hear economists, government officials, intellectuals and even common man talking about a growing labor force and the growing demand for the job and its associated impact on the economy and society. So, what is the labor force? Who constitute the labor force? Do we understand the dynamics of it? In this section, we will try to understand the labor force, its characteristics and various other aspects of labor force in relation to the industry, economy and the society. The labor force is nothing but a group of the population consisting of individuals from different corners of society irrespective of their caste, creed, color, gender and economic status who are either working or available for work. Each society consists of the labor force or the working population and the dependents. Labor force comprises three kinds of individuals: the employed individuals, part-time or full-time, the unemployed individuals, registered as available for work, and other unemployed individuals who are not registered but are available for work. This composition differs from country to country and depends on the economy, stage of development, job opportunities, technological advancement and usage of technology. In Indian context, the labor force consists of all three of these categories. The working population forms the backbone of the society and the economy of a country. In India, of the 1.25 billion populations, approximately 500 million constitute the labor force, the second largest in the world following China. Around 94% of these 500 million working population works in unorganized sectors which include pushcart vendors, mom and pop stores operators, to home-based BD workers, agricultural laborers and diamond jewelry workers. The rest work in the organized sector comprising of individuals employed by the government and public-private sector organizations. In each society, the dependents are dependent on the working population for economic support. Thus, there should be a proper balance between the labor force and the dependents for smooth functioning, growth, and development of the society. The labor force in a society grows with its growing population and is high in a society characterized by young population, where the average age is below 35, and in this case the dependency ratio decreases below 50%. The average age of Indian population at present is below 27, and it is expected to reach 29 by 2020. The dependency ratio increases with the aging of a population. In addition, low average retirement age and high life expectancy increases the dependency ratio by decrease in labor force. This is a problem mostly faced by Western economies in present times. The gravity of this problem depends on the willingness of the working population to share their wealth with the dependents. This problem can be resolved to some extent by providing alternative employment opportunities to the retirees who are willing to continue working. Another prominent characteristic of the working population is its dynamic nature. The working population is mobile in respect to its composition, strength, and nature. The movement of workers can be of the following types: individuals moving in and out of the working population, change in employer, change in the job description and responsibility, change in the place, duration or time of work, change in the requirements and skills used for the job, change in the industry or the end product. The movement can be voluntary or enforced. Factors influencing voluntary movement include availability of job opportunities, pay differentials across industry and different occupation related perks and other benefits. A dynamic change in the characteristic of present day labor force is a significant reduction in the duration of association with an employer. We might have seen parents and grandparents spending their entire working life with one employer. Earlier days, most of the employees used to start and end their professional life in one industry with one employer. These days, we can observe such stability only in the government or public sector jobs, which is also showing a gradual declining trend. In the private sector, job hopping is very frequent. This is because availability of better job opportunities across and within industries. In today's corporate world, job hopping is a new definition of success. Employees do not think and regret about quitting jobs with a very short period for more salary, better work environment, and change in designation, or simply to change the field of work. Employers have also started accepting it as a matter of fact, and changing 3 to 4 jobs within a span of 2 to 3 years is no more a negative aspect in resume. It has now become more difficult and a costly affair for employers to retain talents than to hire one. Various experts look at it with positive views, with the argument that job hopping helps the employee to learn diverse skills, their experience about the industry increases, and they learn different work cultures from different organizations and different industry. We might not achieve this if we stick to one organization, and knowledge about the industry and process might remain limited. The other way of mobility in the working population, the enforced movement, is when employees become redundant for an organization and are laid off by their employees. Redundancy, pink slips, mass layoffs. All of us must have heard of it. Nobody wants to get a pink slip from his boss. Redundancy is to lay off an employee when the employer considers that the need for the employee to do a work has either diminished or ceased. This is when employees are no longer needed by the employer to perform a job. Various factors may result in redundancy, which include reduced profitability of the business venture, economic situation, inflation, intense competition, cost cutting by business organizations, recession, and of course, when contribution from an employee to perform a job reduces or ceases. During the recent financial crisis of 2008 and 2009, thousands of employees faced mass layoffs. Recession spread panic across the world, and many employees lost their jobs, and many others had to compromise with the reduced paychecks. Redundancy is a black spot in someone's career. Various studies have proved that redundant employees find it highly difficult to get another job in comparison to employees who leave jobs for other reasons. The study shows that around 80% of the laid off employees are able to get another job within a year. Having said that, less than 50% of the redundant employees aged above 40 get another job within a year of redundancy. Redundancy has various other impacts in the social and personal life of employees. Financial concern, anxiety, concern for future career, and pressure from family and society are major issues faced by employees who have been laid off. The morale of the laid off workers decreases as they fare worse than those who left their job voluntarily. Apart from finding another job, few redundant employees find it difficult to cope with the situation. Few crumble under pressure from family and financial crisis, whereas few struggle. In order to get another job, few may compromise with the nature and quality of job and the amount of remuneration in comparison to the previous job. Redundancy not only affects one's professional life or career growth, it also impacts the personal life of persons who have lost their jobs. They may not fare well in their personal and social relationships. People find it offensive to say, "I'm unemployed, I have been laid off, I lost my job," when they are asked, "Where are you working and what do you do?" Coping with redundancy is highly critical in someone's career and life. The weakness of an individual is exposed during the period of unemployment after losing a job. This may reflect in terms of souring relationship with the kin and kith and other members of society. The impact of redundancy on employee can be lessened by the way how business organization deals with redundancy, the support from government for an employed workforce, and the financial safeness of the individual. Instead of giving surprises, business organizations should keep their employees informed about the financial situation, growth, and stability. Employer should keep their employee informed about any probability of layoff. This will keep the employees mentally prepared and plan for future in case of redundancy. Any government support during the period of unemployment is most welcome, and it significantly reduces the financial burden and family pressure. A wise alternative is financial planning for future during the time of unemployment. Financial planning and preparedness for worst situation in terms of savings and investments comes very handy during the period of unemployment after redundancy. Another factor that influences the degree of impact of redundancy on employees is the pervasiveness of occupational role in individual life. The greater degree of pervasiveness of occupational role in personal life, the difficult it is for employees to cope with the shock of redundancy. Correlates of occupational membership. You might have heard your kin and kith saying, "Now you are in the home, not in the office." Please do not behave like you are on the office. Please do not be bossy here. The occupation and professional career often impact personal life. We, to a certain extent, behave in the same manner even outside office, the way we play occupational role or the way occupation demands us to behave. The degree of impact depends on the occupation and the nature of individual. Various studies shows that occupational membership influences the length and quality of individual life to a vast extent. The death rate is higher in case of the laborer in comparison to the professionals and white collars. However, it is the other way around in case of suicide cases. Suicide rates are higher in case of professional in comparison to manual laborers. Even suicide rates are higher in occupations where individuals perform their job alone, such as in domestic help, watchman, and the likes, whereas low suicide rates have been observed in occupations where individuals work together to accomplish the job, such as mining. Suicide rates are also high in an occupation where mental pressure is particularly high. Occupational membership has a pervasive effect on mental health of individuals. Through studies, it has been proved that cases of neurosis are high in professionals and white-collar jobs, whereas the cases of psychosis are high in manual laborers. People working in shifts where work hours overlap with an individual's sleep period mostly suffers from shift work-sleep disorder, which is characterized by insomnia and excessive sleepiness. This affects physical health of employees to a larger extent. Occupational role has a pervasive effect on personality. We tend to imbibe work-related skills and requirements in individuality. This clearly reflects in attitude and behavior towards our kin and kids and other members of the society. We start reflecting professional characters and nature in personal life. For example, a researcher or analyst becomes even detail-oriented and pretty rational in their personal life. Occupational role also has a greater impact on social life. Social acceptance of high-status professions is very high. They get personal freedom and immunity to moral sanctions to a higher degree in a society. They are also more confident in a society than individuals in low-status jobs. There are occupations where individuals become role models and source of inspirations for a society or community. For example, teachers, politicians, cricketers, actors, individuals associated with sacred elements of a society, and individuals associated taking social responsibilities. Such occupations demand a higher control over their personal life and out-of-work behaviors. They become trendsetters in a society and needs to show controlled behavior in both personal and professional life. In return, they enjoy a high degree of acceptance, freedom, and respect in a society. The professionalization process. Profession and professionals are two elite words that give a sense of high status in the world of occupational membership. What is a profession? How do we differentiate a profession from an ordinary occupation? What are the characteristics of a profession? These are few questions that arise in mind when we hear these words. In this section, we will learn various aspects of the profession and professionalization process. There is no proper definition of a profession that differentiates it from an ordinary occupation. There are no criteria to determine or classify an occupation as a profession. Profession is not an ideal occupation, rather it varies to the vast extent. It will be difficult for us to classify an occupation as a profession Rather, we can discuss whether an occupation is more or less a profession or not. There is no unanimous agreement on the criteria to classify an occupation as more or less profession. It is how a society accepts an occupation and gives it a status of the profession on a broader agreement. Individual members of a professional association use their collective bargaining power in relation to their employers to achieve or sometimes enforce group interests. Thus, profession is not an occupation. Rather, we can define the profession as a means to control an occupation. This process of professionalization and collective bargaining process has revolutionized the industrialized society and has brought radical changes in the world of industrial relations and occupational membership. Better working lives. The quality of working life has always been a point of concern for both the employees and employers. During the era of scientific management, the machine approach to human labor was implemented, where human beings were treated as machines during the working hours. This led to dehumanizing effect on the laborers. Later, this approach was heavily criticized, and it was argued that work should be humanized. Professionalization of occupation and professional membership helped to change this approach. It is the collective bargaining power of a professional association that brought significant changes in the working life of employees. In due course of time, various organizations, trade unions, governments, and international organizations not only advocated humanization of work but also implemented the process. In humanization of work, employees and work environment were given importance. Working conditions and working lives across industries improved. Many measures were taken to provide protection to the workforce, which include provision of protection to workers from work-related health and safety hazards, improving wage work bargaining power of the working population to have a fair standard of living, protection to workers from health issues, protection from unemployment, protection to workers from authoritative nature of employers, involving workers in the process of decision making. The humanization of work was also criticized and opposed by many. They argued that workers are more productive in a monotonous, fragmentary, and repetitive jobs rather than in jobs that demands creativity and intellectuals. Moreover, employees prefer routine jobs rather than jobs that are demanding, as their interest mainly lies in their personal life, not in occupational life. The machine approach and the human approach depend on the types of works and the types of employees. In present times, the working lives of employees in the organized sector have improved significantly. During the past decades, the issue for health and safety issues of employees has been of prime importance for government, employees and professional associations. In most of countries across the world, government have implemented strict laws and regulations to provide protection to employees against work-related health and safety hazards. Making workmen's compensation insurance compulsory is one of the many such powerful measures taken by governments. In many other countries, the government are providing state protection to employees under social security programs and are compensating them in case of bodily injury or death caused due to work-related accidents. Employees are also getting sufficient cover for illness and other health-related issues. To conclude, in the present times, we see a great deal of change in the way employers' attitude towards the employees and employees' attitude towards work has changed, in the way occupational roles impact many lives, in the way society view a profession, and in the way the labor force has evolved. We see a more dynamic labor force these days, and employee stability are a big question mark for employers. Because of rapid globalization, employment opportunities have increased, options are more in the hand of working population, working life has improved significantly, and workers' health and safety have gained prominence. Job hopping is pretty common these days. However, this is the era of competition, the competition to achieve and stand out in the crowd, and the competition to get recognition. This is putting a lot of pressure on employees, and work-life balance is deteriorating. The degree of pervasiveness and occupational role on individual life has increased significantly. We can conclude that the ever-changing world of occupation and occupational membership has changed the way in which working population used to work in the era of industrialization and has significantly improved the working life, but it also has posed some new challenges to employers in terms of retaining employees and to employees in terms of maintaining a proper work-life balance. It is the employee who have benefited the most during this period of change.